Oh hey, it's me, Mr. Russell Thayer. I was just reading The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Now, those of you who have been with us in ESL for the past couple months might be familiar with Ernest Hemingway. He was a great author. He was a news reporter here in Kansas City. He was trained at the Kansas City Star, and he developed a very important theory about how to write. Many critics refer to this theory as the iceberg theory. This means that Hemingway wrote in a very clear, concise, and easy to understand way only what you absolutely needed to know on the page. The rest of the meaning of the chapters, or the meaning of the novel itself, was left up to the reader to infer. That is to say, that reader was supposed to use his own ideas, his own understandings, combine them with what Hemingway told us, and come up with a deeper meaning about the themes of the novel and what those portend. Now, Hemingway was not alone in his embracing the clear language ideology. As a matter of fact, we can trace back clear language writing, or the need or the advocacy for clear language writing, all the way back to the book of Ecclesiastes. This is the book that we've been studying. Ecclesiastes is often held up or regarded or venerated as one of the greatest works in the English language, due almost entirely to the fact that it is written in such a simple way, and due to the fact that it is written in a way that is crisp and bright and filled with verbs that push the agents forward and cause things to happen. So we've been reading a lot of content in this book, and it's mostly been about the Joycean idea, the way I see it, the Joycean idea of paralysis. That is to say, we labor and we toil and we strive and we work all our lives, we try to get things, but really what we're doing, are we improving? Are things changing? No. Most of the time what is happening is we are working to maintain the status quo. That is to say, all my labors, all my studies, all my relationships, they all go into this ocean of me. And this ocean of me, like Ecclesiastes says, is never full, nor is it ever empty. It has no benchmark. It has no standard. So it's never complete. It's never incomplete. It just simply is the way it is. So we work most of our lives to maintain the status quo. And we work very hard to do that. And here's the complicated thing about that. If we set out to improve ourselves, that is to say, if we make a concerted effort to make our lives better than it was before, we very often are forced to look at our own faults. We very often are forced to examine our own interpersonal character, how we interact with others, our mode about how we go about life, our operations, how well we manage our money, our time, our spiritual life. If you want to improve, you have to look at yourself. There's no other way. If you are working to maintain the status quo, then very likely what you are doing is looking at the lives of other people and trying to manage how other people manage their time. Because if you can sort of control how everyone else is managing their time, all those around you, then you don't have to worry about things changing too much. And that's the whole idea. We don't want things to change. We want to maintain the way things are. But this becomes very toxic, as the book of Ecclesiastes is quick to point out. If we continue in this cycle, then we will eventually reach what is called, or what is commonly referred to as, existential despair. That is to say that we don't see an end to the current cycle. We can't remember how it started. All we know is we are in it, and it seems like it will never end. So these ideas are communicated very clearly and very concisely and in a very ready to understand and latch onto way. So this is the reason that we are studying the book of Ecclesiastes for the English as a second language class. Very often in society, in American society in particular, particularly in American academics, you will encounter people, students or teachers who write in a way that is intentionally complex or designed to be complex or very flowery or very verbose, and this is fine. there is the place for that type of writing, but it needs to be kept within the realm of artistic writing. That is to say, poetry, creative writing. There needs to be an element of, can I understand the message that's being conveyed to me? Because the point of writing is absolutely communication. So, as I pointed out in class, say I have an idea in my head, okay? I'm going to call that idea triangle. Okay? I have in my head a triangle. Now, I want you, the ESL learner, to think of triangle too. How am I to accomplish this? I want the triangle in my head to go into your head and be reassembled in almost the same way as it was in my head. That would be the point of communication. Well, we have to break the triangle apart into manageable chunks, right? So the triangle has to be disassembled, okay, and taken apart through a lot of wisp and pops and clasps, this thing we call language, and transmitted through reality into your mind and reassembled in a similar way as it was assembled in mine. Now, the triangle, whenever the triangle, hence the idea, will never look the same as it did in your head as it did in mine. That's what the author Alfred Korzybski referred to as, the map not being the territory. A map is a representation of the territory. It is not the territory itself. It's merely a useful tool to guide you to wherever you're going. So I needn't try to replicate the idea in my head to, in your head, and precisely the way I think about it. It needs only to be said that if I can duplicate my idea in your mind with some degree of accuracy, that I have achieved pretty sophisticated communication skills. And that's what I want to teach you here at ESL class. That's how to think of something, think of an idea, and be able to transmit it to somebody else, have it reassembled in their mind in almost the same way as it was in your mind. And then if we do this, we have a very fortunate semantic anomaly that occurs. Because think about this. If I were to take an idea from my mind and put it into your mind in exactly the way it was in my mind, then there'd be no room for expansion. There'd be no room for you to weigh in. The way ideas get better is by perpetuation through other minds and through other schemas and through other thought patterns and other ways of thinking, because in this way the idea can snowball and gain added innovation. It can gain clarity. It can become better. So the idea, when it leaves my mind and is reassembled in yours, the fact that it's not quite the same in your head as it was in my head is actually what makes ideas work. Because ideas get better when more and more minds contribute what they have to offer to the idea, which makes the idea even stronger. So, communication is important. Being precise in our speech is important. And writing in a way that is clear, easy to understand, and most of all, memorable, is the key lesson, I think, that we can take away from the book of Ecclesiastes. So we're going to study Ecclesiastes for the next however long we study it. And we're going to keep looking at the words. So some words that we learned last Sunday, okay? Did we learn ocean? Did we learn lake? Yes. Did we learn exhibited? Yes. Did we learn animal? Yes. All these words are important because they are going into your vocabulary as words that you could potentially use. Now, the point that I made on Sunday was that if we learn a word, if I look at a book and I try to encounter, I read, and I don't know what that word means. It says envelope. Well, envelope. What's an envelope? What's an envelope? So I say, you know what? I'm going to take my pen. I'm going to mark the envelope, and I'm going to remember that word, and then I'm going to go on. Okay? That's not going to work. Inside of 3 hours, the word will be gone from your mind. What you must do when you encounter a new word is always use the word in a sentence. Excuse me, Father, I need an envelope so I can mail my letter. And if you keep doing this, then the word will become part of your lexicon. If you ignore the word, or if you just try to learn the word and file it away, it's never going to work. You're never going to improve. What you want to do is learn as many new words as possible every day. And I actually distributed a synonym sheet early on in class for this purpose. You want to learn all the words you can, and you want to use them as much as you can, and you want to understand how one word can be more precise than the other. And you also want to understand how words can be similar, advise versus advice, but how they can mean completely different things. So we're going to talk next Sunday about that. Don't forget the 4 types of verbs. What are they? I know you know them. I want to hear them. I want to hear them next Sunday. We're going to continue to talk about grammar, primarily through worksheets. We're going to do a thing called Where Goes the Comma. We're going to study participles and past participles and present participles. We're going to study passive voice. We're going to study active voice. But we're going to do this mainly through brief lectures and handout assignments. And we are going to focus primarily on the book of Ecclesiastes for group discussion, emphasizing the way the text speaks to us. I hope to see you guys next Sunday. I love you. I'm praying for you. Thank you. Goodbye.